What kind of manager ignores a crying server during dinner rush? Victor Collins muttered, staring at the security footage on his laptop. It was the sixth complaint in 2 weeks about Store 14, one of the newer locations in the upscale steakhouse chain Victor had built from a single food truck 10 years ago. He wasn't a suit and tie kind of CEO. He wore jeans most days, still tasted the sauces himself, still remembered what it was like to wash dishes in the back when his first hire didn't show up. But now, with 18 stores across 3 states, things had changed. He relied on district managers and store managers to keep things running. That had worked until recently. Store 14 was in a busy downtown area. Good foot traffic. Good location. But now, food reviews were tanking. Staff quitting after a month. One guest even said they walked out because no one seemed to care. Victor had never met the staff at this location. It was open during expansion, and he'd been in Denver handling permits for Store 17. He'd only seen the manager, Jason, during a few Zoom calls and monthly reports. Jason always had excuses. Short-staffed. New hires. Teenagers these days. Victor didn't buy it anymore. So he called in a favor his barber's cousin worked kitchen shifts at Store 14. He got a real picture of the place. Staff turnover was high. Jason barely left the office. Servers were doing double duty. Morale was low. Victor made his decision that night. The next morning, he shaved his beard, cut his hair short, and pulled on a faded black polo. His assistant set up a false application under the name Eric Dalton, and the manager, desperate for help, scheduled him for a trial shift that Friday as a food runner. Victor parked 3 blocks away and walked in through the back. Nobody recognized him. Why would they? Most of the staff had never seen the CEO in person, and with his new look, he blended in easily. No Rolex. No polished shoes. Just another guy looking to make tips. Jason, the manager, barely looked up from his phone as he handed Victor a crumpled apron. "You're the new runner? Cool. Kitchen's that way. Don't screw up." The kitchen was chaos. One cook was shouting about missing onions, another was plating steaks alone. A server slipped while rushing past but caught herself. No one checked on her. Victor stepped in quietly, helping where he could. He ran plates, wiped counters, refilled sauces. No one trained him. No one asked if he had questions. By the second hour, he met Zoe Pierce, a server with tired eyes and a calm voice. "You knew?" she asked while pouring iced tea for a table. "Yeah. First shift," Victor replied, adjusting his apron. "Well, welcome to the circus," she said with a dry laugh. "If you need help, don't ask Jason. He's in his office watching football." Victor raised an eyebrow. "Really?" "Yeah. He only comes out to yell about side work or flirt with hostess girls." It wasn't long before Victor saw it all for himself. Jason berating a dishwasher over a dropped plate. Ignoring a server who asked for backup. Making weird jokes to the hostess who clearly wasn't comfortable. But there was also kindness. Like from Zoe, who helped Victor when he messed up a table number. Or from Louise, a line cook who worked fast and clean, jumping in to help others without being asked. Then came the moment Victor didn't expect. A young girl in a red dress sat alone at a table near the window. She looked around nervously, probably waiting for someone. One of the waiters, a tall kid named Mason, walked over. "Hey," Mason said gently, kneeling beside her. "You okay?" She nodded. "I'm just waiting for my dad. Want something while you wait? I can bring you dessert. No charge." She lit up. "Really?" "Yeah. I'll get you the chocolate cake. It's the best one." Victor watched from across the dining room. He didn't say a word. 20 minutes later, Victor's wife walked in with a surprised look. "Kara? What are you doing here?" Kara pointed to the cake. "The nice waiter gave it to me while I waited." Victor stepped out from behind the corner, slowly taking off his apron. Jason wandered out of his office, finally noticing the commotion. "What's going on?" Victor looked him dead in the eye. That little girl is my daughter. Jason froze. Wait. What? Victor turned to Mason. You didn't know who she was, did you? Mason looked stunned. No, sir. I mean no. I just thought she looked nervous. Sorry, I didn't mean to. You did the right thing, Victor said. You're the first person in hours who showed real care. Jason's face dropped. Wait. I'm Victor Collins. I own this place. Silence hit the room. Victor looked at the staff. We'll talk tomorrow. All of us. And then he walked out the front door, his daughter's hand in his. The next morning, Victor sat in his truck outside store 14, parked in the alley behind the building. He watched staff trickle in one by one, some walking with tired shoulders, others barely making eye contact with each other. He waited until the last of the lunch prep crew stepped inside, then got out, straightened his jacket, and walked in through the back door. The kitchen went quiet as soon as they saw him. Luis, the line cook, paused mid-chop. A young prep cook dropped a container of diced tomatoes. No one moved to clean it up right away. Victor didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Where's Jason? Luis hesitated, then pointed toward the manager's office down the hallway. Victor nodded once and walked through the narrow kitchen, past the broken walk-in door still unfixed despite being reported weeks ago, according to what Victor had read in the maintenance logs. He opened the office door without knocking. Jason was behind the desk, feet propped up, scrolling through his phone. He looked up and blinked hard. I didn't expect you this early. Victor closed the door behind him. That's clear. Jason stood abruptly, smoothing his shirt. Listen, I didn't realize yesterday was. Victor held up a hand. Don't talk. Just answer one question. Did you even notice there was a child sitting alone in your restaurant for over 15 minutes last night? Jason opened his mouth, then shut it. That's what I thought. He stepped toward the desk, voice low. I'm going to speak with the staff. You're not invited to that conversation. You'll gather your things and hand over your keys to Luis. Effective now. Jason's face twisted. Are you serious? Over one incident? No, Victor said. Over months of neglect. Jason's protests followed him out of the office, but Victor didn't turn back. He walked into the staff hallway and called out to Luis. Can you get everyone not just front of house? Kitchen too. Break room. Now. Luis nodded and moved quickly, wordlessly. 10 minutes later, 16 employees stood inside the cramped break room. Victor didn't take the head of the table. He stayed leaning near the door, arms crossed. Let's start with this. Jason is no longer with the company. A few heads snapped up. No one spoke. There are things I saw yesterday that would have made me walk out of this place if I were a customer. But there are also things I saw that reminded me why I started this business in the first place. He looked at Mason. I didn't get your last name. Hughes. You did something last night that mattered. You cared. No one asked you to. You just did it. That's the difference between working a job and owning your work. Mason looked down, unsure how to respond. Victor continued. But caring shouldn't be rare. If you're here just to do the bare minimum, that ends today. If you're here to make this a place people want to come back to, I'm listening. Silence again. Then Zoe spoke. Can we be honest? Victor nodded. She stepped forward. We're exhausted. I've been here 6 months. I love the food, and I like most of the people. But we've had 3 different hosts in the last 4 weeks. We're constantly short on servers. The dishwasher left 2 weeks ago, and no one replaced him. I've been taking out trash between tables. I've seen the schedule, Victor said. It's brutal. No one gets trained anymore, added a quiet voice from the back. It was a girl with dark curls and a nervous expression. I started last week. No one even told me where the mop was. I had to Google how to polish wine glasses. Victor looked at her. What's your name? Angela. He nodded. That's unacceptable. And that stops now. Luis cleared his throat. The kitchen's running on scraps. We've been out of basic stuff for days. No one's ordering restock until it's too late. Last night, we were out of garlic butter. That's like selling burgers without buns in this place. Why didn't Jason escalate it? He didn't care. He said to make do. Victor pinched the bridge of his nose. All right. I want one person from front of house and one from kitchen to give me a list by end of day. Everything you're short on. Equipment, ingredients, supplies, everything. Luis nodded immediately. Zoe followed. Victor looked at the group. Here's the deal. I'm not firing anyone else today. But that doesn't mean I won't. He let the silence settle. From now on, things are going to run differently. You'll have leadership who actually works. Who trains. Who listens. But that only works if you show up and do your part. The mix of relief and hesitation in the room was palpable. I'm bringing in someone tomorrow to act as interim manager. She's from Store 8. Her name's Marisol. She's good. Tough and fair. She'll do things right, but she won't babysit. He turned to leave, then paused. You've all been putting up with a lot. That's on me. But we fix it together, or we don't fix it at all. As he walked out, Mason caught up to him. Mr. Collins? Victor's fine. Mason hesitated. Thanks for listening. Most people in charge don't. I didn't listen soon enough, Victor said. Now I will. He went straight to his truck and called Marisol. She answered on the second ring. You still up for a challenge? He asked. I thought I already had one. This one's different. Store 14. It needs a reset. Not just the operations. The people. You'll have full authority. What happened? He gave her the short version. She didn't ask twice. I'll be there by open tomorrow, she said. By 2 that afternoon, Victor had the locks changed on Jason's office and the employee files reviewed. He learned that Zoe had picked up extra shifts every week for the last 6 weeks. That Mason had never once called in. That Angela had been put on floor duty with 0 shadowing. He made 3 phone calls that evening, one to HR to schedule formal staff interviews, one to the supply chain coordinator to expedite restock orders, and one to a local cleaning service to deep clean the kitchen overnight. Then he walked back into the dining room just before the dinner shift. Angela was setting tables now, more confident than earlier. Zoe was reviewing the floor chart with 2 new hires she hadn't met before. Mason was folding napkins, humming without realizing it. Victor didn't say anything. He just watched for a moment. Then he turned and left, knowing change had started but the work was far from over. By the time Marisol stepped into Store 14 the next morning, the staff was already buzzing. Word had traveled fast that the boss himself had been undercover, and that Jason was gone. But nobody really knew what came next. Marisol walked through the front door 10 minutes before open, clipboard in hand, eyes scanning the space. She didn't smile. She didn't make a speech. She just nodded at Zoe, who was setting up the coffee station, and headed straight to the back. Victor had told her everything she needed to know, but she wasn't one to rely on summaries. She wanted to see it for herself. She stopped just outside the kitchen and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. Everyone not actively prepping or plating, meet me in the walk-in. 5 minutes. No one asked why. They just moved. Inside the walk-in, the temperature dropped, but no one complained. Luis leaned against a crate of potatoes. Angela stood near the back, arms crossed tightly over her apron. Mason showed up last, still tying his apron. Marisol looked at each of them. I don't do long introductions. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to fix this store. She paused. I've read the reports. I've seen the numbers. But numbers don't tell me who you are. Your work does. Luis nodded once. Angela stayed quiet. I'm not Jason, she continued. If you show up on time, do your job, and treat people right, we'll get along. If you don't, we won't. That's the only warning I give. She waited one beat longer. Get back to it! The staff filed out without a word. By noon, the line was forming at the host's stand. 2 new hires, both clearly nervous, were trying to stay afloat. The seating chart was a mess, and the host's iPad was stuck on a frozen screen. Marisol didn't wait. She stepped in, rebooted the system, and reassigned the floor map manually using a printed version she pulled from storage. She moved tables around, adjusted the sections, and told one of the hosts to take a 10-minute break to breathe. Don't vanish, she added. Just get water and reset. Meanwhile, Victor returned quietly through the side entrance. He didn't need to be in the spotlight, he just wanted to see how things moved under new leadership. He stayed near the dish pit, watching. The back was still stretched thin. Luis was doing 3 jobs: grill, prep, and plating. The new dishwasher, a thin guy named Terrell who'd started 2 days ago, was clearly overwhelmed. Plates were stacking up. The floor was slick from a leaking rinse hose. Victor stepped in and grabbed a mop. Terrell looked over, startled. You don't gotta do that, sir. I do, actually, Victor replied, wringing the mop out. Terrell blinked. You're the owner? Today I'm back up. When Marisol came through the kitchen 5 minutes later, she didn't say anything about Victor mopping. She just took one look at the busted rinse hose, turned to Luis, and said, Who handles maintenance requests here? Luis wiped sweat from his forehead. Jason kept the login info. Not anymore. She pulled out her phone, snapped a pic of the hose, and texted it to Victor's assistant with the store code and a priority tag. Angela stepped in behind her, carefully balancing 2 ramekins of sauce. We're out of ramekins again. I've been reusing the ones from busing. Marisol held out her hand. Give me one. Angela passed it to her. Marisol held it up to the light, then turned to Victor. You eating out of this? Victor examined it. The rim had a faint chip. Barely visible. No. Marisol turned to Angela. Don't reuse chipped ramekins. Ever. Toss them. If we run out, we serve the sauce in a side dish or on the plate. No exceptions. Angela nodded quickly and hurried back out. Victor leaned in. Not surprised you caught that. I ran a kitchen for 6 years. I know where people cut corners when they're tired. I'll get a replacement order in tonight. Good. Now let me run the floor. Victor stepped back and let her take control. By mid-afternoon, the rhythm started to shift. It wasn't smooth, nothing changes overnight, but it was different. Mason was helping the hosts handle table flips. Zoe was training one of the new servers between tables, showing her how to balance hot trays without burning her forearm. Angela got the ramekin situation under control by rotating in small bowls from dry storage. Then, around 4, everything cracked. A man in a dark suit came in and demanded a reservation that didn't exist. He claimed to know the owner, and insisted they seat him immediately. The host tried to explain politely. The man snapped back. I spend thousands here. You think I'm waiting behind a bunch of nobodies? Victor heard it from the kitchen entrance and stepped forward, but Marisol was already moving. She walked up to the man and folded her arms. You're welcome to wait, she said calmly. Or you can leave. I want the manager. You've got her. He looked her up and down. You. This place really went downhill. Victor stepped forward. You can leave now. The man turned. Who are you? I'm the owner. The man laughed. Then you should fire her. Victor didn't blink. You're not welcome in this restaurant. The man scoffed and stormed out. Victor turned to the host. You all right? The host, a young woman with short braids, nodded. Yeah. Just didn't want to mess up. You didn't. Victor looked at Marisol. You handled that exactly right. She shrugged. No one talks to my staff like that. After the rush calmed down, Victor pulled Zoe aside. I've been going through past schedules, he said. You've been picking up a lot of extra shifts. She glanced away. Just covering holes. You've been doing more than that. You kept this place from sinking. She didn't say anything. You want to be assistant manager? She looked at him, surprised. Seriously? We'll train you properly. Real hours. Real pay. Real title. Zoe hesitated. I've done some training before, but not, you've got the instincts. And now you'll get the support. She exhaled slowly. Then yeah. I'm in. Victor nodded and walked back toward the dish pit. Terrell was still working, hands soaked, but the pile was down. You got what you need? Victor asked. Not yet. But I'm getting faster. You keep showing up like this, we'll get you a helper by next week. Terrell looked at him, surprised. For real? I don't say things I don't mean. That night, after close, Marisol gathered the team briefly. We're not fixed yet, she said. But the pieces are here. You keep showing up, I'll keep fighting for you. Nobody clapped. Nobody cheered. They just nodded, tired but steady. Victor watched from the back of the room. He didn't need applause either. He just needed this place to be what it was meant to be. And now, finally, it was heading there. A week later, Victor returned to Store 14, not as a runner or a shadow in the kitchen, but with a notepad tucked into his jacket and no distractions. He parked around the corner again, force of habit now, and walked in through the front entrance just before the start of dinner service. No entourage. No announcement. The dining room looked sharper. Tables were set with precision, the lighting warm but not dim, and the music level was finely balanced, not blaring, not fading into the walls. Staff moved with more coordination than he'd seen before, even if the pace still held a trace of strain. That was expected. 1 week of change didn't erase fatigue. But the difference was in the posture. People weren't dragging. Behind the host's stand, the same young woman who'd been rattled during the confrontation days earlier was now managing a short queue of walk-ins with calm efficiency. She looked up, recognized him, and gave a small nod, not nervous, just acknowledging. Victor stepped aside and waited. Marisol appeared from the back, not with a checklist, but carrying 2 rolled-up sleeves and a stain on her forearm from prepping a last-minute substitution in the kitchen, based on the text she'd sent him earlier. We're short 1 runner tonight, she said. New hire backed out last minute. Mason's doubling. All right, Victor replied. Where do you need me? You still remember how to carry 3 plates? Only if I don't have to back through swinging doors. She pointed toward the back dining section. Corner tables about to flip. Grab water, menus, and let's keep the pace. They didn't need to say anything else. Victor worked the next hour without pulling rank, just another body filling a gap. He ran food, cleared plates, and helped a server named Elise handle a 10-top that had shown up without a reservation. Elise, barely 21, moved like she'd been in the game for years but was clearly stretched thin. Victor didn't comment, he just made sure her next tray was already garnished by the time she turned around. When things leveled out, Victor stepped outside for a moment and called HR. Any updates on the hiring front? He asked. We've got 3 candidates in screening. 2 for back of house, 1 for front. Marisol's already flagged a 4th she wants to bring in from store 6. Expedite it. If Marisol signs off, I trust them. These folks are still running lean. He hung up and stepped back inside as Zoe approached from the staff hallway. She had a clipboard in one hand and a towel slung over her shoulder. Got a minute? She asked. Victor nodded and followed her to the office, now cleared out and reorganized under Marisol's system. I've been reviewing side work assignments, she said, spreading a series of laminated checklists across the desk. They're outdated. Half the tasks aren't relevant to how we actually operate now, and some are duplicated without reason. Victor leaned in. Show me. Zoe pointed to the section labeled End of Shift Duties for Servers. We've got 3 different people wiping down the same surfaces, but no one assigned to checking the restroom supplies at close. That's why we keep running out of paper towels mid-shift. Victor nodded. Fix it. Rewrite it and roll it out. Marisol still wants to review everything, but if it's more efficient, she'll back it. Zoe hesitated a second. Also, Mason's been training the new server, Layla. He's doing a solid job, but he's way over his hours. He's not complaining, but it's showing up in his pacing. Give him a break in tomorrow's schedule. Paid. Her brow lifted slightly. Seriously? You see him cutting corners? No, then he's earned it. Victor left her to it and returned to the floor, just in time to see a customer raising his voice at Angela near the drink station. The man was mid-40s, in a fitted dress shirt, and visibly impatient. Angela was gripping a tray with both hands, trying to explain something. Victor moved fast but didn't intervene immediately. He stopped just behind a support column and listened. I said no ice. This has ice. Do you hear English or not? The man snapped. Angela kept her voice steady. I can get you another one, sir. It'll take just, I don't want it from you. Get someone who knows how to listen. Victor stepped forward. I'll take it from here, he said firmly. The man turned, annoyed, until he recognized the face. Oh. You're the owner, right? I am. Then maybe teach your staff to follow basic instructions. Victor's tone didn't waver. She offered to fix it. You chose to insult her instead. I didn't insult her. You questioned her ability to understand English. That's not criticism. That's personal. And it's not tolerated in my restaurant. The man put the glass down. Fine. Whatever. Victor didn't blink. You'll need to leave. She messed up my order. She offered to correct it. You chose to humiliate her instead. You're done here. The man muttered under his breath and picked up his coat. As he walked out, his eyes darted around, seeking backup from other guests. None came. Angela stood frozen, still holding the tray. You okay? Victor asked. She nodded slowly. You did everything right. Take 5 minutes. Step outside if you need to. I'm okay. Just need a second. Victor didn't press. He turned to Marisol, who had seen the scene unfold from the bar. Zero tolerance, she said, already jotting notes for the incident log. When the shift ended, Marisol gathered the team for a quick huddle near the pass window. No chairs, no speeches, just a few standing bodies, sleeves rolled up and aprons wrinkled. Tonight wasn't perfect. But you held the line, she said. You backed each other up when it counted. Victor stepped beside her. I want to be clear about something, he said. What happened out there with Angela doesn't get brushed off. That kind of behavior won't ever be acceptable here from customers, vendors, anyone. Angela stood quietly, but her posture had changed. She wasn't shrinking. Victor looked around the group. This store had problems. Big ones. But what I see now isn't broken. It's rebuilding. He turned to Luis. Your new fryer arrives Tuesday. You'll also have a second prep cook starting Thursday. You've earned that support. Then to Zoe. Your schedule structure looks strong. Once it's finalized, we'll standardize it across neighboring stores. To Mason, who looked like he still hadn't stopped moving all night. Take tomorrow off. Paid. Non-negotiable. Mason looked like he wanted to argue, then thought better of it. Victor continued. We're not just fixing this location. We're using it as a blueprint. Not for expansion, for accountability. Marisol added. This isn't about being better than other stores. It's about being better than we were last week. There were no cheers. No applause. Just quiet nods and tired, honest eyes. That was enough. When the staff filtered out, Victor lingered behind, watching as Marisol locked up. She turned to him with a question she hadn't asked until now. Why'd you really go undercover? Not the surface reason. The real one. He considered his words. Because I'd built something I couldn't recognize anymore. And I figured if I didn't see it for myself, I didn't deserve to keep calling myself the owner. She studied him for a moment, then nodded once. You do now. They didn't shake hands or make promises. They just turned off the lights and stepped out, side by side, into the cool night air. The restaurant behind them wasn't perfect. But for the first time in a long time, it was honest. And that was the beginning of everything good.